Hello again, folks. Welcome to the SS2 blog.
Yeah, and YouTube and Facebook
yeah,
page.
Check it out. We're going to be doing a series of interviews which is going to outline the care that Nigel receives from the charity. We're choosing Nigel's situation because we believe that he's been extremely successful in living independently, and due to historical experiences we've had with what we would see as extremely poor or non-existent care, we would like to highlight what we believe, and we have proof it works. The proof is sitting next to me, Nigel, of how it should be provided in order for someone to live independently, as comfortably as possible, but also be safeguarded. So this won't just be one interview, this will be a number of interviews over a period of time, highlighting and outlining the care that Nigel receives, and hopefully other people that watch this can learn from this and be equally successful. So I'm going to pass you across to Trey, who's going to introduce herself, and then on to Nigel after that, and then we'll proceed with each section of Nigel's care, just snippets to begin with of the benefits of that provision, and also the potential downsides of not having that provision, or if you do have it, it's done incorrectly and poorly. So pass you across to Trey.
Hello, and I'm Trey, and I work with Harry with Stepping Stone 2, a charity that works with people with learning disabilities and difficulties, helping them with their personal care and different learning situations, and also in the community. And we've been working with Nigel for quite a lot of years now with his personal care and enabling him to live independently. And tailoring your care for what you need to live independently in your home and to cope in the community.
Thanks, Trey. Before we go to Nigel, one of the things one of the questions I'd like to ask, and obviously people who are listening can input too, we often use the words living independently, throw it away, and don't actually really understand what living independently means. So I'm going to ask you both what you believe living independently actually means.
Living independently for me means to be able to cope in your environment, looking after yourself as well, your personal care, and to be able to do that without not having to have supported living where they're there all the time, so you can be in your own place. So that could be the difference between living in your own place or going into supported care where you're in a room or a flat and somebody's there 24 hours. That's independent care for me.
Thank you, Trey. Nigel, what do you believe living independently actually means for you?
Well, I live in my own flat. I do have help from friends who come nearly every day to see me, but they're not here all the time. They can let me live independently, but with support and help, and making sure that I'm helping me with stuff that I need to help with, like going out in the community and my health and my care as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, like Trey said, they're not stuck in a flat and with stuff 24/7. You two are come in and say, Nigel, how are you doing today, and have you done your regular routine and that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it also gives me independence as well, to be on my own and my own flat without people there all the time.
That's well said, Nigel. One of the downsides of this living independently in certain organisations is that once someone appears to be independent, maybe does something once or twice, people think, oh yeah, he can do that on his own, let's save a bit of money and we'll pull the staff out and we'll just leave them wandering far and wide. That's not living independently. Living independently is having the care provided that enables you to live a quality of life, but also to know you've got people out there you can contact, communicate with, will come in when they're needed, yeah, but not sit over you when they're not needed, because that's not living independently.
No.
And, you know, people can be literally smothered
Yeah.
and feel as though they have to do things. You know, well, you have to go on a college course, or you get out of your room, you need to be getting out more.
Yeah.
You know, that's not living independently. This is living independently. And this is what we want people out there to actually see and appreciate that real independent living is what's provided for Nigel. Nigel summed it up quite well there, Trey also. So we're going to move on now. We've done the introductions, and me. I think you probably know that. We're going to start with what we believe good care provision is. And we have a number of things that Nigel gets help with.
Yes, it gets.
One of the first ones is the interests, social interests and activities.
Yes.
So Trey, do you want to tell the viewers what input we give Nigel before we move on to Nigel in relation to social interests and activities and why it's important?
Social interests and activities, I feel is important for healthy well-being and emotional well-being. If a person doesn't have much in the way of interest and focus and such, it can have a detrimental effect on their mental health. How we work with Nigel is we look at what Nigel is interested in, and we try and find ways for Nigel to be able to do what he's interested in with support. So say for instance it's model work and he has dexterity problems. We work with Nigel to enable him to do the model work and participate and have that focus.
How and again this is crucial to people eventually watching, historically, and I know this because I'm an old dinosaur and I've been in this social care and education game for many, many years, people were literally coerced to go on this roundabout of activities and interests. It's good for them, get them out, until they ended up more stressed than they were before they actually didn't have any interests.
Yeah.
So what's unique about the way that the SS2 provide that enablement to take part in social activities? How's it done?
It's sitting down with someone and actually finding out what it is they're interested in. They could go on quite a lot of courses, like you say, and not like most of those, and find they're in an environment that makes them feel uncomfortable because they don't want to do that. So when you sit down and you get to know someone and you develop that relationship, they will tell you about what it is they're actually interested in, what they would actually want to try.
So then, just to be devil's advocate, what if they can't communicate that well? What if they're not able to actually say to you, oh well, I like this, I like that? What would you do as a provider?
I think I would try and introduce them into different activities, but just in a small way, and then see how they engage with that activity.
Mm-hmm.
They're really interested in it, do they really want to have a go, or they look and say, oh, help me do this, I want to try this. And you get a feel if you're watching people how they interact with something, if they actually like it. So,
I agree. So then, if there was a situation, Nigel, where you had staff that weren't amenable and they believed that certain interests were important to you, and you were a little bit daunted by these members of staff, a little bit frightened, the chances of agreeing to do this particular activity would be pretty high, would you say?
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference then in relation to your social interests and activities that you take part in? How did we get there? What was done to get you interested in certain things? What questions did we ask? How did we do it?
Well, you asked me what kind of things I liked, and I was interested in sport, and I was interested in movies. So you brought them two things in, where, okay, I'm interested in like Star Wars, so would you like to start building like a starship or something? And I said okay, and then you started buying actually start buying the models, so in stages, so I can build it and to show what I'm actually building in the end, which was like a Star Wars ship, and you start buying all the stuff together so I could start to build it, and that was the interest I got, and said no, I would like to do that.
So do you feel as though you, and this is not a trick question, Nigel,
No.
we talk about informed choice where the individual knows that they can choose or not choose. Do you feel as though you have that informed choice where, you know, you're presented with something, whether it's the Star Wars or the not Scale Electrics, the other one, the Meccano.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though you have to do these things, or it's just, you know, it's a good chance to get some focus, to reduce your anxiety, etc., which Trey touched on earlier? Do you feel as though there's a balance there where you can go to it or not go to it? Do it or not do it?
Yeah, there is a balance, yeah, because it's thinking, well, no, I'm sitting here doing nothing, just slumming, and I've got that thing that I've got something to look at and something to build. So you get up and say, "Come on, Nigel, build. You've got this thing to build. Have a go at it."
So if you were talking to, well, obviously you are talking to people eventually,
Yeah.
we're just talking to a camera at the moment,
Yeah.
which is a little bit kind of static and stoic at the moment, but never mind. For instance, example, Nigel, you don't have any interest at all, nobody enables you or encourages to take part in something, you know, maybe sits down as a chat with you over a cuppa and say, well, what are you really interested in now? What would you like to have a go at? If you removed all that, what would the downside be for people? What things might go wrong if people are vegging all day in the flats or just wandering, shuffling around the local town or whatever? What's the downside? What could happen with those people?
Well, just get poorly and stuff, and just end up their health would be affected.
What kind of ill health problems would there be now? Because you know you've experienced them yourself.
Well, there would be like the weight and that, and the mobility, and especially with your health, your skin and stuff, and your teeth would.
Your dental health.
Dental health would suffer, because mine almost suffered before I started to. I mentioned that. I didn't know my dental would suffer until somebody else said to me, "Your breath is horrible" and stuff like that, and it would affect me with the stomach and me health.
Yeah, it affects your heart eventually.
Yeah.
That's been proven.
And somebody sat down and said, "Now, you got your dental's suffering, so."
Yeah, because Nigel was a bit naughty because until Trey came along, I was kind of providing shadowed care because I was working full time. He was a bit naughty because he kept telling me, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the dentist. I'm cool."
Yeah.
I think the dentist was in Cledamosi, I think, at that time.
It was, yeah.
When actually we found out he hadn't
No
been.
dentist.
I haven't been for a while.
And you know, I mean, there's a lot of people actually are frightened. I mean, you know, I remember when I was, because I went through the school butchers, you know, the school dentists, and you left a fear of dentists. It took me quite a long time to get over that. But as social care practitioners, you have a responsibility to ensure that people's dental health is looked after, even if they're frightened to go, and there's ways to get around that. We had a client, an ex-client, who eventually lost all her teeth.
Yeah.
And that was because she wasn't being given the
No, she wasn't there.
yeah, the care that she should have been given. And you know, it's not good saying, "Oh, it's her choice, doesn't want to go, or she's frightened." You know, you have a duty of care to ensure that person doesn't lose the teeth. You know, that's exactly what happened with Nigel. If I was to ask you, Trey, and obviously Nazi, you can come in on this one, would you say then that in the absence of all the input, the activities, etc., having a bit of focus, you know, things to do with people or whatever,
Yeah.
or in the quiet of your own home, the downsides of that, and you were really clear on that, Nigel, would you say there's a high proportion of people who don't get that input and are wandering around dishevelled, smelling, body odour, poor teeth, hair not looked after? Is there a high percentage of people out there that you've seen now that you would say need that kind of input?
Yeah, I've seen people that
Yeah, I've travelled around on the bus quite a lot and coming to from Whitehaven and going obviously get to the working side, and you see quite a lot of people, and that lack of care and focus means everything else falls down. So because they're not good in themselves emotionally and mentally, everything else gets left. You know, what they eat, the personal care, the dental care, the going to the doctors, the skin care,
yeah.
the home, everything goes because there is no focus, there is no feeling good about yourself in any kind of way. And I see quite a lot of that.
And that's not just indigenous to people with learning disability, mental health problems or whatever. You know, we can all get a bit that way.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not feeling good about yourself and, you know, people aren't really being nice to you, or you haven't really got anybody to look out for you, then, you know, you could kind of creep back in and, you know, start drinking too much, eating too much or whatever. And that was just me. So we'll move on to the next section. Is that all right, both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move this chair slightly forward.
And we're going to look at, which ties in with that last question, personal care.
Yes.
Trey, do you want to begin with that one in relation to what's provided for Nigel?
Nigel struggles sometimes with his personal care, and we support Nigel as in helping him to, one, know how that works and get into a routine and prompt Nigel with his personal care, so if there's any problems he knows what to do, and he also knows he can come for help if he does have a problem, and also get into a routine that he keeps clean and he keeps on top of his personal care.
So what's the importance between prompts and literally enforcement with someone? How is it administered in relation to SS2?
Prompts will enable a person to take control of that for themselves, and I feel that Nigel has come from a bad place, because you remember some time ago, some years ago, and now you own your care as well. It's part of your way of life, and by prompts it could be to do with your cognitive disabilities. And you know that you're going to get help and support to do that, because you know you've taken on board that it's best for you. So that's the prompts, and that's how the support works. The other way is forcing somebody to do something, even though you might think, oh well, you know it's best for them, but unless they engage in that, they're going to fight you on that. So they need to understand that it is for their best well-being. And if you can't work with a person with that, you're going to have real problems. You get challenging behaviour, aggression, such as that.
So, scenario, right, you're working with someone in 24/7 care, for instance, because we've talked about independent living whereby it's not in total, it's just as and when needed. That's not to the detriment of safeguarding, of course, which we'll come on to later on. You've got a scenario where the individual is going to college, for instance, which used to be the fun place for people with LDD to go to. There's a college course coming up, computers. I don't like computers, shut up, you're going. It'll do you good. Tell him it'll do you good. Well, it's how? Just get the flipping bus and go to college. That's how it used to be. Pretty much still is, except now we're saying to people, what's your choice? So the scenario is, this person's going to college, okay? they are told to go to college the day before, and then the usual thing would be little knock on the door, you ready, you know, such and such, have you done your teeth, have you had a bath, all the rest of it. Important that, isn't it? Because you normally go to college where it's warm in classrooms and you're smelling, or your breath smelling, whatever, or you're looking like someone fell off a flitting. And this person isn't prompted the night before or in the morning, and they are left in the flat. So support worker says basically, oh well, he doesn't want to go, he's not getting up. That's the scenario.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
What do you think, Nigel, would be wrong with them?
Well, everything, isn't it?
Tell me what's wrong with it, Nigel.
Well, yeah, they haven't been prompted.
Why is it important to be prompted?
So that you can get prepared for it. Get yourself, say I've got to be up at a certain time and get myself sorted out and then be ready to go out.
So how would you like to be prompted? I mean, we know that because obviously we do that on a regular basis. What kind of prompt would be right for you? And think of one that would be wrong.
Well, to be prompted, maybe I would sit down and say, look, this course is coming up on, say, Tuesday, and then you tell the person maybe two days before or something, and then remind them close to the time as well, and then they can be prepared and say, look, I've got this college course on Tuesday, I'm going to get myself ready, get myself and sorted, and then I'm ready to go.
So, without that, the person doesn't remember to go on a college course.
Yeah.
The member of staff knocks on the door, come on, need to be getting ready now, you know, and such, we've got college and whatever. Now, think back to a time when, and I know this because I remember, you know, when your alarm doesn't go off and then you wake up in sudden shock. Oh, God, I'm supposed to be at work at 8, it's bloody 5 to 8 now, oh God. Right, imagine that with autism, with a learning disability, with a mental health problem. Now, is that really a good place to be for that individual?
No.
Yeah, and then they end up going to college with the member of staff. They haven't got washed, they haven't got dressed properly. Is that a good thing to have?
No, it isn't.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
You know, someone says, "Oh, you stink. Look at the state of that person there." You know, so of course you're ruining that person's image.
Yeah.
So it is important, isn't it,
Yeah.
that you attend to personal care,
Yes.
because it's crucial for your image, it's crucial for your well-being. You know, without the dictation from a member of staff, you know, you work with that person. You were quite right there, Nigel. Sit down, talk it through, given that there's that particular cognition to be able to understand.
Yeah.
And even if there isn't, there's ways around that as well.
Yeah, it is.
You know, so personal care. Nigel, what input do you get from yourself and Trey on your personal care?
I'll make sure that I'm washed and changed, and make sure that I have clean clothes to put on, and I've done my dental stuff as well, and make sure that I've done everything. And if I haven't, say, missed out on cleaning my teeth, Trey said, "Have you cleaned your teeth this morning?" I said, "No, I haven't." So, and I will go and maybe do that. Yeah.
Yeah, why is that important, Nigel, to you? Because I mean, obviously, you know, you're well up on that now, and it's rarely ever, I remember, does he need prompted on that, you know.
You got into a good routine with that.
I've got a good routine. Sometimes I maybe you sometimes have a little of a lapse, don't you? But you say no. Because sometimes I go into the bathroom and done something like clean my teeth or something, and then I've forgotten to do something else. So I go back and I say, oh.
I spent hours doing that, Nigel.
It's called all in.
Set off to do something and start doing something else. So, you know,
You sat in the room and wonder why am I here?
So do you feel as though you have the control of the personal care, Nigel, and you understand the importance of it?
I do have, I do have some control, and I do understand that I need to do my stuff,
So what would you say to the people now, because obviously we talked to that camera there, why is it important to take care of your personal care and you know, your care providers making sure that you know, you both work together to make sure that's okay? Why is it crucial, Nigel? What would you tell people? What's the downside of not looking after your personal care?
Well, if you didn't
You touched on the dental side earlier.
if you don't look after yourself, you just go downhill, and you probably smell and stuff, and probably there's health risks as well.
Is it really a choice of yours to whether you smell or you don't smell?
I think everybody should have a responsibility to take care of their care, you know, their health care. It's something, you know, if you're maybe you're lucky, you get that kind of support from your parents if you're lucky, and they show you how to look after yourself, because obviously it has an effect. For instance, you get infections of the skin,
Yeah.
your teeth could fall out.
What about your image then? Because obviously if you're going out and about, and we know
Yeah.
this from personal experience, and you're in a very warm environment, for instance, your breath smells, you look dishevelled, you know, you have body odour, and people will notice that quite strongly, literally strongly. How will that affect your image? How will that affect how people see you as a person?
Well, I think people will avoid you, wouldn't they? Now,
Yeah,
if you were in an environment and you're sitting next to somebody who has strong body odour and such forth, you'll probably move if you can, and you won't actually have a social interaction, a positive one, because people are trying to get out of your way.
And if you don't have that, how's that going to affect your emotional health, your mental health? You're going out, nobody really wants to be around you because you smell and you look like something fell off a flitting, you know, then you come back here, you're still on your own. How's it going to affect your mental health? What could you become?
So like social outcasts or something?
Social outcast, yeah.
Isolated.
Isolated and stuff like
And
that.
from isolation, what kinds of illnesses can come from isolation? Apart from physical health, obviously.
Depression,
Depression, stuff like that.
anxiety, stress.
Yeah.
You get yourself in quite an emotional pit,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is, I believe, is where you were just a few years ago.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah. So care providers have an obligation to ensure individuals are not going around in those states.
Yeah.
They don't smell, their dental health is looked after, all the aspects of personal care are taken care of. You cannot have someone in your service and not attend to that. And if you use the word choice, sorry, you're wrong. That's easier because you then don't have to do anything. You know, you leave your clients wandering far and wide, just getting worse and worse image, personal image. Their mental health is going to suffer more and more. Their physical health suffer more and more. So I'm sorry, but as a care provider, you do not rescind on that obligation in any way, shape or form.
I think also as well people can be bullied because of it. There can be
Absolutely.
a focus of bullying. And there's also the other side of that. If they drift into really bad health, be physical and mental health, it's also a drain on the health system because they have to try and pick that up.
Absolutely, and I think we'd mentioned that in a piece going back some time ago. Right, we'll move on to communication. Why is it important, Nigel, to have input on your communication with your personal care? Sorry, with your support.
So you can express how you're feeling and stuff, and say, look, I'm feeling this way today, I don't feel like doing anything. You'd say, well, why?
Yeah, so for instance, if you went to a meeting with Trey, myself, or all three of us, for instance, and you didn't get any input on your communication, you didn't get any support on your communication, there were other people sitting there, you know, social workers, etc., etc. How would that make you feel if you weren't able to communicate in that kind of environment?
Probably frustrated. A bit of frustration and stuff.
Yeah, because it's crucial, you know, to give that input to people in your service, because there's many different areas where communication is important. Think of person-centred plan meetings.
Yes,
You know, yeah, I mean the preliminaries for that, you know, making sure that someone's settled before they go in, make sure they're able to communicate fully, make sure that people that are also in that room, all the other interested parties, are aware of that individual's communication barriers, to adapt the way they deal with that person to make sure that person feels comfortable. You've had experience of that yourself.
Yes, I am.
So why would you say communication is a crucial trait in relation to Nigel's independent care?
Nigel likes to be able to communicate with people, and he wants to be able to communicate with people positively. So say for instance, Nigel, you were talking to somebody, you were trying to have a general conversation.
Yeah.
You would want that to be a positive
Would you?
experience. So getting help and support with communication enables you to do that. So if, say for instance, you with one of those and you talk to somebody you don't necessarily know very well.
No.
There's a leading, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
You know, we bring you into the conversation so that you have a way to be able to communicate, and you're introduced to people, and it's a positive thing. So there's that side of things. So you can make friends, so you know, there's that as well, the social side, which is beneficial. But also when you're dealing with, say, doctors, nurses, consultants,
Which you've done.
Yes, I have done,
dentists, stuff like that.
I have done, yeah.
It's feeling comfortable that you have the support with you, so you can try and express when they ask you the questions they need to ask you about how you feel and how does this affect you. You can communicate that with help and support, so that you can say and give them the information that they need. So it's not necessarily always us having to try and explain that, it's you're giving your input. It's really important for the, you know, health carers to get that information from you.
Definitely.
So you feel comfortable with that. So that's part of it as well, isn't it?
So if we do all that with you, Nigel, but we haven't attended to the personal care, and your breath's bad, and you look dishevelled, you've got body odour, what's the chances of that communication input actually being okay?
Probably won't be. Won't be okay with it.
Because people don't really want to be communicating with people who look shabby and smell. Correct?
Yeah.
So every part of this must all tie together.
It's all linked.
One can't stand in isolation.
No.
Yeah? So communication in whatever shape or form is crucial.
Yeah.
But in the absence of the other stuff being attended to, you're wasting your time. Set up on as many courses as you want. But if somebody hums on a bus, you're not going to sit and talk to them. You're going to try and get to the back of the bus and try and breathe. So let's move on. We're going to look at expressing your sexuality, relationships. You know, Trey touched on friendships and things, Nigel.
Yeah.
Why is it important to get input on that side in relation to, you know, forming friendships and having relationships? I mean, you've got one currently with Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, God love her, she's not in, you know, in a very good situation. That's not good for you or for her. But you did get some input going back some time ago from myself and Fiona.
Yeah.
West House.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
What kinds of things, and you know, we've done this as well with you, Nigel, you know, about boundaries and things like that. The work that we did with yourself and Jackie to enable you both to have a really good relationship, what things were done, Nigel, do you remember? What kinds of support you were given? Well, you were both given anyway.
Well, just how we got on together and stuff, and what we like doing and stuff, and having that bond as well, so having a good relationship with each other.
And what would you think makes a good relationship?
Well, communicating with each other and
Communication again, yeah?
and supporting each other in what we want to do and stuff.
Emotionally?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what
Emotion.
about interests?
Yeah, interest as well. Yeah.
You know, Jackie can't stand F1, but Nigel loves F1.
Yeah.
You know, how would you deal with that? You know, would it be fair to say that Jacqueline can not like something? That's entirely up to her.
Yeah.
But would it also be important, perhaps, that she tried to be with you maybe when you're watching it, show some kind of interest? You know, would you say that it's crucial for you to drive that, excuse the pun, you know, push it on, Jack, you have to watch it because I'm watching it, you know, would that work?
No,
No?
it wouldn't work now.
So you'd have to accept that you each like different things. There might be
Yeah.
certain things that you share, and we you know we kind of worked on that in the early days. But that's also crucial when you know you're going to places and you're meeting people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
accepting that you know maybe someone doesn't want to listen to your radio playing while they're sitting on the bus, or your phone constantly going off
Yeah.
every 5 minutes. You know, because there is a school of thought by some people that people, because they've got learning disabilities or whatever, that they in some way, shape or form should be put onto some pedestal and they can do no wrong. That's not how it works. You know, the real world doesn't work that way. If you get in a bus, you open all the windows, it's freezing cold outside, people are going to get cob-ons, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, so this is really about you know, find a balance between how you communicate with people, how you get on with people, accepting people are different, yeah? Because that goes a long way to forming good relationships,
It does, yeah.
yeah? There's no room for opinionation, judgmentalism, arsiness, there's none of that. It's all about good communication and accepting difference. Would you agree, Trey?
Yes, and also you can find a way to incorporate two interests, like say for instance, Jackie, you like to animals,
Yeah.
and you like trains,
Yeah.
travelling, so you can
So you go on a train with animals?
Yeah.
you can go
Sounds good.
somewhere on a train with Jackie and see such and
Yep.
such, so you do
Yeah, you could,
both, you combine
we
them
do,
both.
yeah.
So that.
And you
that's-
did?
And you do
Yeah,
used to
we
do
did,
that,
we
didn't
did.
you?
Yes, we did.
Okay, emotional support, we've only got a couple more to go now. All these things tying together, and we are going to enlarge on each section in future interviews. Emotional support, Nigel. Why is it important for someone living independently to get that emotional support, to have that emotional support provided? Why is it important?
So they can not get into a slump about it.
Which we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you live on your own and you have a support network who are in the building, and you're in your flat and they're in playing on the phones or just generally doing nothing.
Seen that before, right?
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I know you have. Yeah. So, if you're feeling a bit flat and a bit down, and these members of staff aren't really the ones who are that receptive or can be bothered, or you just don't like them basically, how are you going to get that support? If you feel a bit depressed or a bit anxious, are you going to get that support?
No. Not if they're just sitting there playing on the phones and stuff.
So how would you I mean, we know this because we do it. How should that emotional support be provided then for people living on their own in their own individual flats? How do you think it should be done, Nigel? Apart from obviously being aware of the fact that someone's not feeling so good. What things could be done by support staff that would alleviate that emotional...
By asking them how they are and stuff,
Yep.
communicating with them.
So two scenarios. One is, you alright? Other one is, how are you doing? Do you want to have a couple? We'll maybe sit and have a bit of a crack. You know, see how you're doing. Is that alright?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, a cup of tea, yeah.
Yeah, you're more likely
Yes.
to you know, be able to find out if someone's okay. I mean, you might just have a look and realise the body language isn't so good, and they
Yeah.
definitely aren't good. So you find out that this person's struggling emotionally. Should these chats be regular, if that person lives on their own? Or should they be once a year?
Not regular.
Yeah?
Should be regular, yeah.
And what in what ways would one do that to ensure that the person's able to articulate how they're feeling?
I think you would need to, I feel, check how a person is when you first see them. You know, are they still in bed? Are they struggling that morning? Or, you know, have they been able to do anything for themselves, like the personal care?
You're looking for patterns then?
Look for patterns. So you're looking to see how they are in themselves, give them space to get themselves a little bit sorted out. Say, for instance, they do some stuff they need to do, like get washed and changed, and you know how you feel about having a cuppa when you're sorted, and then when you sit down and ready maybe for a cuppa, you can ask them how they are and see if they're able or at that time to talk about something. If they aren't, then okay, well, you know, how about I'll leave you for a wee bit and I'll come back and see how you're doing then. And eventually, throughout the day, being able to sit down and get them to talk, you know, feel comfortable and talk about how they're feeling that day.
So once you find out what the causation factors are, the person's been quite clear that there's certain things that are affecting them. What would your obligation be as a care organisation?
Well, it's helping them work through that. You know, if they come and they say, I'm having this problem, I'm feeling this way, it's finding out, if you can, if there's a reason for that, and then helping them work through that, or alleviate that, or even avoid that. You know, if it's such and such is causing that problem, all right, okay, what can we do about that? Working together to work out that maybe it's something that's causing the problem, maybe they're feeling ill, maybe it's another person or a situation, and it's just working through with them, so not leaving it with them with it.
So, can you afford to be complacent if someone is quite clearly depressed or sad or fearful or anxious or there's anger there? Can you afford to be complacent?
No, you have to find some way to help them work through that, even if it means you get another clinician in to work with them and counselling or whatever it is that's required, or go to the doctors and maybe get some medication as well, you know, just not on its own. It's like different tools to help that person deal with things, because if you don't, they're just going to get worse and worse. I'm going to end up in a really bad way and everything else falls apart.
Absolutely. So there's an obligation and a duty of care in there. Would you expect that, Nigel, if you were feeling sad or fearful or depressed, etc.?
Yeah, duty of care.
How would you like that support to be administered to you then? Say that you were really kind of depressed, you were really down. What would you expect from your support staff? You mentioned one where we would sit down and have a chat.
Oh yeah, just sit down, I would crack with them and say, look, how are you feeling today and stuff. And
That's just the staff.
and,
No, just interviewing us.
right.
So, what took place in relation to your situation, Nigel, where you quite clearly had quite severe depression at one point and anxiety? How did we work with that? What things were done to enable you to get to a better place? We touched on quite a number of things.
Yeah.
What kind of things did we do to get you to a better place where you would function more independently? Because at one point you were frightened about going out, remember?
Yeah, they'll giving you that support and stuff, and that.
Was it talking therapies? Was it medication? Was it a mixture of both? How did we deal with it?
It was a mixture of both, and gave me the confidence to get out and say, come on Nigel, do you want to go out today? And you say, okay, I'll give it a shot, and then...
Yeah, we just did it gradually, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got to be very careful you don't coerce, force people to get out there because it's good for them, because actually you end up with more problems than you had before.
Yeah.
So it's again like everything, it's about finding that balance, but at the end of the day, working with the individual, you know, to get the best result.
Yeah.
Any other comments on emotional support? We're going to come back to this, folks. Anything else?
No.
No.
Now the mental health side, we do give input because it ties in with the emotional well-being, etc. And we talked about, I think Trey mentioned counselling if it's needed.
Yeah.
We are lucky in that respect because I was trained as a counsellor, so I can provide that
Yeah.
myself. Trey's come a long way as well, she can provide that for Nigel. And then Nigel also counsels me and you.
How was your weekend? Oh, well. How long you got?
Right, we've got just a couple more and then we're going to finish off for now. The next one's going to be about managing your medication. There are a number of horror stories about independence where people, and Nigel knows this, where people are left literally to manage their own, and then people don't take it and become more unwell, or they're overprescribed medication that basically flatlines them and then they can't do anything, and you end up with more problems again. How do you think your medication's being managed now, Nigel, and what's crucial to it being managed properly, other than us taking it?
I'm taking it.
That was a joke.
Yeah, where's our mate?
I'm off my head.
Yeah.
So what ways is your medication managed now? Because you're pretty good because you're able to manage your medication independently, but with obviously input and support from ourselves. What things are important about medication management that you want to tell people that are listening? What things have to be adhered to?
Well, taking the right medication, how much, what dose you take, and what time of day you take it and stuff, and you write down what you're taking, and then you know what you're taking, and getting the right medication to think.
To keep you well, yeah.
Keep you well.
And take it regularly?
Yeah, take it regularly and make sure that you take it regularly, yeah. So that you.
Yeah, specific times.
Yeah.
To take it.
So what are the downsides of not doing that if you're living independently? And make no bones about this, we are talking about an anomaly here. There's quite a number of people that aren't managing the medication very well and they end up ill, unwell with it. It's crucial, isn't it, to take it regularly, Nigel?
Yeah. It's crucial, yeah.
And the downside of that is, we said there, people become unwell.
Yeah, people will, if they don't take it.
Now, some people that are left that can't take it properly, we mentioned there about them feeling unwell, becoming unwell and back in hospital. What should be done if someone can't manage their own medication? What is the onus on the care organisation?
To help them and make sure that they're taking the right stuff and getting the right medication to take every day.
Right, so to take it regularly.
Yeah.
Bit of a blip,
Yeah.
maybe not feeling so good, so Trey comes in and she comes in, right, come on Nigel, you need to be taking your meds. Is that the right way to do it?
No.
If she says, oh well, it's up to you whether you take it or not, is that right?
No.
So how should it be done?
Well, Tracy, so ask her, have you took your meds today? And if you say, oh sorry, I haven't, no, and then Tracy would look at where you missed out and ask you to say, put it together and say, well, she wouldn't force you, but she would ask you.
So what should she be saying to you then when you've missed your med, you've forgotten? What kinds of things would you say to them?
Well, I mean, we discuss if you've missed your meds, the importance of taking your meds.
That is importance, yeah.
Because you're trying to keep well, and the reasons why you take it, okay, how can we sort that out now? And I'll be asking you if we can sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go and look at your meds and which ones was it you were supposed to. We'll go through the process with you.
Yeah.
But I would remind you of why it is you take your meds and why it's important for you to keep you healthy and keep you right. And also, and something you have to give up, what is it you have to give up in one of the meds that you take that we know we say with people not do that? You have to give up.
Give up?
Yeah.
What can't you do while you're
What can't
taking
you do when you're taking your meds?
that you were doing before?
That you were doing before. That you see other people doing and you should be doing it with the same meds.
Drinking alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah. So remember we sat and chatted to you about the effects of what would happen if you drank and took this medication.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you understood why it wasn't a good idea
Yeah.
to drink. And how did you feel about that? Did you, when you were, because it was a change for you, wasn't it?
It was a
Yeah.
change, yeah.
Yeah, it was a change. So how did you feel about that when you have to go through that? Oh, wait a minute, it's been explained to me. What'll happen if I have alcohol and these pills?
Well, it would affect me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Affected me in a big way because I would eat, because, yeah, alcohol, well, I don't know, can't be drunk, but
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that, you know, say you go for a meal or something like that, you know, you can have the odd drink because it's on a regular basis, it's excessive, and there's many people with mental health problems who do drink excessively and shouldn't be because of the drugs they're taking. But, you know, you managed that well, we managed it well, it wasn't forced on you, you know, you
No,
weren't
wasn't.
locked in,
no.
your house, your flat, sorry. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, and again, we're going to enlarge on this later on, there's many other aspects of it,
Yeah.
but I think on the whole it's being managed well,
It is,
and Nigel has got good control, which gives him the independence.
Yeah, because you understand, we sat and discussed
No,
with you about what
yeah.
would happen if, you know, if it wasn't taken at the right time and if you didn't take it and if you took things with it that would cause a problem. So,
Housekeeping,
Yeah.
last one. Everybody loves housekeeping. First of all, why is it crucial for someone living on their own to attend to their housekeeping and have support to maintain the property that they're in? We'll look at the downside of not doing it first, and Trey's going to mention that, and then we'll look at the benefits of keeping on top of your housekeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah? The downside.
Oh, the downside. If you don't keep on top of your housekeeping, you've got rubbish piling up, you've got disease when food isn't being thrown out and left on top of counters, and you've got, you know, you get stomach bugs and stuff like that. You've got mice camping out in rooms and jumping away looking for trees, and actually all they've got is plastic bags and cardboard. You could be living in scrow, which is going to have a mental effect, an emotional effect, and make that much worse. Yeah, pretty awful. And then you've got breathing problems with all the dust, breathing in dust. You could end up with an asthma situation. Yeah.
So you're told that it's their choice because they live independently, they've got their own flat, they choose to be that way. Do you have the right to force it on them?
I think you have a responsibility to help them understand and try and do that housekeeping. I mean, say for instance, if they weren't cleaning the toilet, not a good situation. Not a good situation at all. So they end up, it's so dirty that even when they do use it, and they've got faeces and all over them. Not good at all. So to let somebody get into that situation, I don't believe is something that should happen.
So if someone's living that way, would that reflect when they're out and about? Would that reflect how they are? Would it have an effect on how people see them? What about people visiting them? Would people want to visit them if they lived in squalor?
No,
No.
they would not.
No.
So that would affect them, would get back to isolation again
Yeah,
here?
it would, yeah.
You know, and again, this is not an anomaly we're talking about. There's many people living those kinds of lives now. Does the organisation have a duty of care to ensure that that's not the case?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, the effects on them physically and emotionally is just awful. And it will affect their health in other ways. So somebody ends up in hospital because they've got food poisoning.
So if the organisation are saying that it's their choice, is that right? They're choosing to live in squalor. The organisation is getting paid to have those people under their jurisdiction.
I think sometimes there's a safeguarding issue, and personal care and housekeeping, as well as health, is safeguarding issue that comes into it. So to allow somebody, say for instance we allow Nigel to live in squalor, that's breaking safeguarding. We're not taking care of Nigel.
Yeah, allowing the person to become ill
Yeah.
quite clearly, and again, we're not talking about isolated instances here, we talk about quite a lot of situations,
Yeah.
and some of it is quite subtle, and you know that.
Yeah.
It might just be the fact that someone isn't taking care of the toiletry side before they come out. It might be that they're not shaven in a certain way.
Yeah.
People with only half a moustache or half a beard, even.
Yeah.
And it's people can argue as much as they want about choice, but if you take someone into your jurisdiction to provide care, then you're rescinding on that by not providing that care.
Well, they wouldn't actually be in your care if they could cope with everything. They need that support. They need people to help them make decisions that enable them to stay well, safe, and healthy. That's why they're there. That's why you get paid to look after them.
Yeah, people don't choose to be dirty, people don't choose to smell, people don't choose to lose all their teeth, people don't choose to be bullied when they're out and about because they look, crazy. So anybody listening to this now, if you disagree with the way that we provide that care, then I suggest you back it up, because you need to look back within yourself and just ask yourself some questions as to why you've got people under your jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So, we're going to finish off now. We are going to be coming back to this. This is just a kind of snippet of certain parts of it. We'd like to eventually let people see how SS2 provide care in people's homes and in the local communities, which we'll come on to on the next interview. But just for now, parting shots, Trey?
Parting shot. It'd be interesting to be able to explore how we do that, and it'd be interesting as well for Nigel to reflect, because we always reflect on what we do.
Yeah.
Everything from your health to your housekeeping to how you live your life.
Yeah.
Everything is reflected on and looked at and changed, adapted as it goes, and nothing ever changes, it stays the same. So it'd be kind of good for you, Nigel, to be able to express how that journey has gone, because it's also a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
A journey about coming from a really bad time and getting through into a better place. And that's a good reflection, to be able to share that story with people that might find this helpful.
Yeah.
I'm sure people will.
Yeah, there'll be people living in their own homes who don't get the care and the help that you do. So I'm kind of looking forward to you being able to share that with others.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because it's your story, Nigel.
Yeah.
We're just passengers on your bus, as it were, or train. So, do you want to round up, Nigel? Just a few words before we finish off. Just to round up, to tell people we're going to be coming on to other stuff at some point in the near future.
Yeah, we're good at to come on to other stuff, and how care should be provided now. And do a scenario where if it's good care and bad care, and just say, look, that gentleman's getting that proper care, and then they'll think, shouldn't we get provided
Absolutely, yeah, it'll jog people's thought processes, and then the hope is they'll challenge the service they're in to provide them with what I would say is best practice. So, thank you folks for listening in, eventually. Thank you to Trey, thank you to Nigel. I'd just like to round off by saying a few more words, and that is that I'm proud of where Nigel's got to. I'm proud that Trey's developed the skills that are needed to provide quality care. I like to think that I've kind of taken more of a lesser role, shall we say, and Trey's taken more responsibility on. to provide NAS with their care, not least of which the fiscal, which you
Yeah.
manage.
Yeah.
But the one thing for me is from this is that this hopefully, before I leave this mortal coil, I'd always talked about creating a blueprint for people to come along and pick up, you know, work with that, because you know, it's been proven it works, and then just maybe, you know, add things to that as you go along.
Yeah.
So I like to think that by doing what we do, and it will inform best practice and hopefully eradicate malpractice, a lot of which we've seen over the months and the years now.
Yes, we have seen quite a bit of it.
Yeah, none of which has been dealt with, and that's not fair on the people in those services. So yeah, I'd like to think that this eventually will inform people of best practice and eradicate that malpractice. So thank you folks, that's a wrap.
Yeah, thank you.